G'day guys, this is Nick at Stridewise.com, and today I'm doing an entry in my series on the best places to buy boots in New York City. And the brand that we are visiting today is right here on the world famous Madison Avenue, and this is the first company I ever spent over $500 on a pair of boots for, but it was worth it. Let's see why. I'm here with Curtis, the co-owner of Alden Madison. Thank you for having us, Curtis.
Thanks for having me today.
It's a real pleasure. Tell us about Alden Madison, Alden the brand. What's so special about it?
So Alden is the premier American shoe brand. They've been around since 1884, manufactured up in Middleborough, Massachusetts. They specialize in shell cordovan, which is right behind us, and we're also very famous for our indie boot, which I'm sure most people have heard about.
I actually own these shoes. I bought these for my sister's wedding, this exact pair of shoes. Why is cordovan such a special material for shoes?
Yeah, the big thing with cordovan is the durability and the longevity. It's going to last 2 or 3 times longer than a calf skin. It's from the butt of a horse. It's the membrane under the skin. It comes in this really beautiful color 8 right here. It's a nice burgundy. It has a nice luster to it. Keeps kind of a shine naturally, less creasing, and more rolls, less susceptible to scuffs and tears. So they really just last and last. People come in 15, 20, 25 years later with the same pair. So that's really what we're known for. We are getting bigger into the calfskin models these days. More textures, more grain leathers are very popular, but this is still the bread and butter of our store here.
Where does your cordovan come from?
They get it from the Horween tannery out in Chicago. That's the only place Alden will get their cordovan from. There are some other tanneries abroad, but no one has caught up to the quality that Horween has yet.
So this is like some pure American brand. You're all made in New England still to this day. Yep. Leather all comes from Horween.
Yep, we bleed USA here. Yep.
I love it. Speaking of bleeding USA, tell me about Indiana Jones.
Yeah, so this is the Indy boot. This is what Harrison Ford wore as Indiana Jones in all the Indiana Jones series. It's the original Alden work boot, style 405. We now have over 20 different variations of this boot, but this is the original. Comes with this neo-cork sole that just wears like iron. It was originally part of their foot balance line. Alden was big into the orthopedics, but it's just kind of taken over and become their most popular style.
Yeah, I had this in brown, and literally just yesterday I got one in black because I feel like I think it's really hard to get a black boot that doesn't look too serious. And eventually I realized if I want a black leather boot, it's just gonna have to be another Indy. So I got 2 pairs of Indies, phenomenal shoes, really comfortable. Indiana Jones does indeed wear them. Yeah. You mentioned Alden's orthopedic history. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because one thing people often mention in association with Alden is like, this history as an orthopedic foot maker makes the most foot-shaped not the most foot-shaped shoes, but some of the most comfortable shoes you can get out there.
It was a little before my time here, but I believe in the 70s and 80s they were huge. They had a foot balance line. They did what was called a modified last, true flare last, a CDI last. They're really meant to take the place of an orthotic. The most popular being the modified, has a very high arch built in, narrow in the heel, wide in the forefront, works well for guys with flat feet. So they still do a couple of those. We carry a few in store. Most of the foot balance line is in orthopedic shops now, but they still have some popularity and demand.
Yeah, very cool. We have a mutual friend, JD, who he had like really bad foot pain growing up, and it wasn't until he started wearing Alden shoes that he was able to dress nicely and also get rid of his foot pain.
I wear orthotics. They fit well in my Indies. I have 5 pair of these. I absolutely love them. I have them in shell, I have them in suede, I have the original. It's a can't miss boot. We always joke around, we could probably try and make a bad Indy boot and it would still sell out. These days we're really having more turnover for newer shoes. We're starting to work with different leathers. Alden's finally getting some more new leathers in. A lot of grain things. Boots and loafers are really big, especially through the pandemic. Almost felt like we didn't sell actual dress shoes for a couple years.
Yeah.
Our suede loafers are huge. All the boots do well. The shell, the calfskin, snuff suede is huge.
Yeah.
Our other big style worth mentioning, we are the original tassel loafer. We have it here in shell cordovan. These were made for a movie back in the 50s, I believe. Alden got the first model of this. So when you wear a tassel loafer, this is the original. Anyone else is just copying. And then our penny loafer tends to be our best seller these days, in shell especially.
Wow.
But we do them in suede, calfskin. You know, just kind of the premier penny. You know, such a good shoe. You can dress it up, dress it down, especially in the shell.
I have a pair of cheaper loafers made in China. Now I really want to throw them out and get a pair of those.
Yeah, no, these are the best.
So the Alden loafers, are those like your big sellers? Like what are the ones, what models do you sell the most?
Yeah, right now this has been #1 this year. I think just because people are dressing down, you're not seeing as many guys wearing that black suit and tie anymore.
Yeah.
So we're doing a lot more. These go well with chinos, khakis, even a slack. But you can still dress it up. The cordovan always dresses up a little more. It just has that natural shine. These are good. Indie boots are probably number 2. Our plain toe, also always a good shoe, just because it's another one you can pretty much wear with anything. The simplicity of it, you can dress it up or down.
All right. Why do you think people should spend the extra money to get a pair of Aldens shoes instead of like a pair of like $200 shoes? It's a differentiator when it comes to quality and like high quality shoes for the people who are new to all this.
I think Alden's unique because it almost feels like one of those brands that gets passed down. You might start with the cheaper shoe, and then someone you work with says, hey, you got to try Alden. Spend the extra money. You'll find out when you get them on your feet. They last. They mold to your foot, they have good support, a steel shank, Goodyear welt, so you can constantly resole them. And just when you have one shoe on your foot 10, 15 years later, you know you're getting your money's worth.
Yeah, exactly. The cost per wear thing is something that is hard to really think about when you're new to this whole world, but then when you can figure it out down the line that when all said and done, it's actually better value than the stuff that's going to fall apart.
They're the cheapest shoes you can own when you have them for 15, 20 years.
So that's exactly right, yeah.
Yeah, so we're in New York City, located on Madison Avenue between 43rd and 44th Street. We encourage you to come on in and we'll get a pair of shoes on your feet that you're sure to love.
Great.
Yeah?
There you go.